Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm Petter and this is James.
Hello.
And today we're talking about volumes 25 and 26 of Vinland Saga. The real Vinland Saga is now well underway. Like the actual Vinland Saga in Vinland Saga.
Oh, good point. I mean, because they made it to Vinland. Like,
exactly.
They're there.
Yes, at long last. It feels so good. And, well, actually, real quick before we get back into the actual discussions on this manga, most recently on the Umami Manga podcast, we covered another manga by Makoto Yukimura, who obviously also does this one, called Planets. It is our most recent episode right before this one, so if anyone's interested in that, then yeah, it should be easy to find since it's right up there with the most recent episodes. Anyway, this book, or these two volumes, I should say, volumes 25 and 26, just such a nice and kind of hopeful in a lot. Obviously not 100% hopeful, but there's a lot of hope in here,
right?
That I just really appreciated, and something that I'll just touch on briefly now, but we'll talk more in depth on later, is just the ending of the book, just how amazing it was. I don't know, I'll leave it there maybe, but
powerful, you know,
super powerful, so good. Oh god,
like a spiritual experience, really. Anyway, so I'm surprised how just hopeful and filled with good feelings this book is. You know, not to say that I didn't think that they were in a good place, or they were going to have a good time, but it's a story, right? So I expected there to be at least sprinkled in with these wholesome moments, some more conflict. Not even sprinkled in, more. I guess the conflict to be more up front, but it's not so really. And to me, it felt like the ending of this book could have been the ending of the manga itself. Like, okay,
yeah, dude,
we're good. Like,
honestly,
why do we need to
continue? You're right. Really, yeah. The ending is kind of like everything is like we've kind of achieved, or the characters have kind of achieved everything, like all of their goals at that point, in a way.
Right. In a way, yeah.
So yeah, that is true. And like all we needed was a little "and they lived happily ever after" text, and that's it.
Exactly. I am intrigued to see where Yukimura goes from here. There are a few little plot points that he's dropped, but nothing that is huge. So I'm still curious what he has in mind, if he's following what the actual Vinland Saga said. What was written down. I'm not sure, but
yes. By the way, how much do you know of the Vinland Sagas, like the writings in those?
I've tried to keep myself away from those as much as possible.
Fair.
So
then I will not obviously mention, because I haven't read the Vinland Sagas, but I have read about them, and so I know the general contents of those historical records and kind of what is said to have happened. Which could be considered spoilers. I will say some of the stuff that happened in this volume I was expecting since quite long ago based on that. So it is, in a way, spoilers, but also you never know where and when or how Yukimura is going to take creative liberties.
Right.
Because he has done that, obviously, in the past with certain things. So at the same time, it's not like a definite spoiler. But anyway, I will be sure to not mention anything from that.
Yeah, I think for me that's how I'll go about doing it, because it is tempting just to go Wikipedia and read about what they are. I have gone through and read about a bit of Leif's excursion to Vinland and how he named Markland and whatnot. But all I really know about the Nords in that part of the world is that they were there and then they weren't. Like,
right. that's
so why
it.
Why did they leave, or did they die out? Or I don't think they would have died out, because I think you would have seen more evidence of them if they had lived there a whole time or something like that. So they must have left. So it makes me wonder, is that where this story is heading? And if so, gosh dang it, why?
Yeah.
I have some thoughts on theories on that, but I'll save that for the very end when we do predictions.
Exciting. All right, then. Very well. Then I think it is time for us to get into the character discussions, starting, of course, with Thorfinn Karlsefni Thorson.
What a man.
What a
What
man.
a man.
He reached Vinland after all this time. It is so satisfying. And he has almost all of his friends like from throughout his journey there with him. So that is also brilliant.
Indeed.
I love seeing just how great of a leader Thorfinn has grown into by now. Like, obviously,
Right.
we
Yeah.
kind of followed along. We've seen it little by little, I suppose. But I feel like this book, for the first time, really showed it to us, like his helpfulness and like how respected he is by everyone around him. It's like such beautiful leadership qualities that really remind me a lot of Thor's as well. Like, his role in this community is a lot like Thor's was like back, in the village on Iceland, in my opinion. So it's really fun to see that kind of similarity.
Yeah, going off of that, we get a flashback of Thorfinn when he had just basically disbanded the Jomsvikings, and you see him talking to a new character that was introduced in this book, I believe.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like very blunt and not really stumbling, I should say, but he's not mincing his words. And then in the present day, he thinks about that and it's like, oh man, I don't know what I was saying. And it got me thinking about just how he was at that time. He was a little bit awkward with his words because he wasn't sure how to process exactly what he's feeling. And it's been it's taken all these years for him to really become the leader he is and not feel that awkwardness. I don't feel that in him at all. I feel someone who's very capable, who understands what he wants and is able to express himself, articulate really what he wants to say, and that just is a testament to his growth.
Absolutely. And actually, yeah, and about the kind of stuff that he said to Vargr there in the past about how he doesn't believe in Ragnarok, and kind of questioning like why should one believe in a prophecy like that. I thought that was kind of fun to find out that he doesn't believe in that, because sure, Thorfinn's exact beliefs and whatnot are a bit unclear exactly, since we know we know he's taken some interest in the Bible, but we also know that well, he was raised in a Norse society. So for example, in this book there's an instance when Gudrid mentions the idea of them sailing off the edge of Midgard. and like Thorfinn's reaction to that was similar to Gudrid's. So like it feels like he has a bit of like, he believes in Midgard and like those sorts of Norse things as well. But regardless, what we know for sure is that he doesn't believe in the Ragnarok prophecy, which I like. I love that optimism kind of about not believing in the end of the world, and that mindset also really, it discourages violence, because if you don't believe in Ragnarok and that final war, then it also discourages violence, because then you don't have to die in battle to go to Valhalla and all that. So it really works in so many neat little ways, I think, that mindset.
I agree. Very, very slight tangent.
Uh-huh.
I think it's interesting how we've noticed, we've pointed this out before, is that Gudrid has a little cross around her neck.
Right, yeah, she has ever since she was introduced.
Right, and so we've established that she must at least have grown up in a Christian background, or at least is Christian. Right?
Have we established this? I'm not sure, because, okay. Or at least I don't think I've thought this, because, sure, I don't think we knew for a fact, or maybe we still don't know for a fact what kind of religion she prefers or whatever.
Gotcha.
But as I said, there was that little comment by her about sailing off the edge of Midgard, which seems to indicate that she believes in like the Norse gods. However, obviously that's not necessarily the case. But
yeah, I don't think that's necessarily the case. But
no.
But yeah.
However, the cross is not longer at the end, at the bottom, like a Christian cross.
You're right. That's a good point.
Makes me think that it's not related to Christianity. However, I mean, it may be, but I don't know for sure, of course.
Although we do know Leif was Christian.
Indeed, he did convert to Christianity, or maybe he was always Christian.
Well, maybe he converted, but he does even mention in the book that he's Christian.
Yeah,
and that's where she's from. So I don't know.
True.
Maybe there's something there. The only reason I brought it up is like I wonder, like have they talked about her faith at all? Or it's never really brought up well, not really. It's never brought up in the story. So I was just curious, like,
Yeah.
you know, what exactly is that? Because I personally don't think Thorfinn in this story has ever converted to Christianity. I think he
No.
likes the ideas in the Bible,
Mm.
but I don't think he's decided, oh, I'm going to be a Christian kind of a situation. So I don't know, just
Yeah.
interesting thing. And of course, I think with these tales of sailing off the earth, I think a lot of those were similar mindsets that, you know, British Christians had at the same time, probably because a lot of people thought the earth was flat.
Fair. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's really it's hard to tell with pretty much all these characters what they believe
Right.
in. That is true. Hmm. But yeah, back to Thorfinn. When Leif spoke to Thorfinn about his father, Thorfinn could see his father Thor's as well as Askeladd standing like behind Leif there. Obviously, we've referred to Askeladd as somewhat of a father figure to Thorfinn on the podcast before,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but for some reason, I don't know. I kind of wasn't expecting Thorfinn to kind of view it that way so blatantly, or at least kind of in his head that
Really?
way.
Hmm.
Came as, I mean, not a surprise exactly, since obviously the idea has been in my head, but for Thorfinn to seemingly accept the fact that he views Askeladd as a father figure like that, I thought was interesting.
You know, I actually thought it was more interesting that he called Leif father
Mm.
than calling Askeladd. I mean, obviously they have a very uh, love hate relationship kind of situation, um, but I think it just shows the three people who have probably made the most impact in his, or three men who have made the most impact in his life, and they're all in a way father figures. So for me, it wasn't like too surprising, especially since he's gone through a whole forgiveness and seeking forgiveness.
That's fair.
That his image of Askeladd kind of helped force or helped push forward.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. No, it does make sense. But I really did like it when Thorfinn called Leif father because
I did too. Hmm.
not only was it just beautiful in and of itself, but I really think I really think Leif appreciated that a lot. Like it meant a lot to him to hear Thorfinn say that.
Oh,
So I
absolutely.
thought that was very beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate him moving away from the previous campsite that potentially Leif or some other Nords had set up.
Oh yeah.
Um, I mean, it probably could have been easy just to set up camp there and just gone about his way, but
Mm.
he knew what he wanted and he understood there could be conflict here, so let's leave. And I think it gets you a good chance to, I guess, see other parts of the world. I
For
don't know.
sure. Yeah. No, you're right. And really, going further south was probably better for the wheat as well. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
in the
good
long run.
point. Something else that kind of hit me hard was it's been 20 years since Leif told his story to Thorfinn,
Yeah.
and then you kind of have like a collage of certain images from that time, and uh, that was towards the beginning of the book, but that did kind of get me a little emotional just to see how far he's come to get to this point
Yeah.
in his life, and yeah, it was just really really powerful to think, wow, 20 years.
It is so amazing how the story, like the journey that this story depicts, is really unlike anything I've seen before. Like it's not just a physical journey; it's like a spiritual journey as well.
Yeah,
And like both of those
exactly.
very different types of journeys are so well depicted. Like it's
Hmm.
amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm fanboying so hard over this manga, but it's so good.
Yeah, few stories I've read have had this long of a run, this long of a payoff to me. I mean, yeah, there are longer stories, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, like I don't read too many of, seeing a young boy become a something 20 years something year old man and go through this spiritual journey. I mean, oh, Naruto, okay, yeah, I get it. But that's a little different.
A little bit different.
Anyway, the point is
Yeah.
this is amazing, amazing story.
Yes, absolutely. And Thorfinn spoke about the idea of the most frightening man, implying that someone who despises war but still participates in it is
Mm.
deadly strong, or like even a terror.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentions Knut the Great as an example, but I believe Thor's, as well as really Thorfinn himself, could also fall into that category, or at least during the times when they were waging war.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd say Thor's hated war at the beginning.
No, no,
Maybe.
no, no. Yeah, I was gonna get to like toward the end of his time as a warrior, I believe was it would mostly apply to that, I suppose.
Now, well, that makes me think
Mm.
what Thorfinn said there. It makes me worry that there is going to be a Canute on this island. Not necessarily someone who is, going around taking land kind of a thing, but someone who would normally despise war, using it for some reason. And I think that shaman guy,
The Puowin or whatever, however it's supposed to be pronounced.
the Miskwekepu'j, whatever his name is,
Yeah.
he, I mean, granted he's old, but maybe he can have the same sort of fire that Canute has and rile up his people. So I am a little bit worried about that.
Yeah.
There's another person I'm worried about too, but I'll save it for when we talk about them.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, I think that's a very good point. Because I mean, sure, that was a relatively short chapter, the one about the most frightening man. And maybe it was just something like a little tidbit, like of something interesting to ponder. But you're right, it definitely could also be something like, well, yeah, a build up to something that's actually going to be happening. Yeah. Yeah, that is terrifying.
It's kind of sad, really, if that's what ends up happening. But
yeah.
Anyway, just life, I guess. His ability to communicate with the Lanu was impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the guy who could barely talk about his feelings just a few years ago, and now he's somehow interpreting, or not, maybe not fully understanding what they're saying, but he's able to communicate eventually, and it's pretty heartwarming.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it really is. I think his merchant skills on display.
You're right, exactly.
And it's really nice to see that, because obviously we didn't get to see those 2 years or so when they were in Miklagard. But now, yeah, we do get to see some of those skills in practice here. So yeah, both in terms of communicating, as you said, but also in terms of, finding a way to do like proper trades that benefit both sides.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very, very great.
I mean, I think last thing for me is just, gosh, the end. The end chapter was just good thing after good thing.
Yeah.
The wheat finally growing, and them being able to get grain out of it and make the bread. Gudrid's announcement, and then just to one up everybody, Hild makes that shocking statement, and I don't know. I think I just love that her line was to Thorfinn's like, "You are a true warrior."
Yes.
To have that told to him, I don't know. It's just very powerful, especially by Hild.
It's like immeasurably powerful and important. Like, and honestly, after she said that, and Thorfinn walked up to her, and he just stood there speechless. And like you could really see just how he didn't know how to react or what to do, but obviously, yeah, like just the relief of all of that. But yeah, it was so incredibly touching. And that last panel, actually, the last panel of the book, where Thorfinn is kneeling in front of Hild, and she's putting her hand on his back. It reminded me of Thorfinn and Hild's showdown in the snowy forest in Norway, where at the end of that showdown, Thorfinn had been shot in the legs, so he was kind of kneeling in front of Hild as she was about to shoot him. Obviously, very different situation now, but like it's kind of a similar. Their positions kind of. It looks a bit similar to that, and I feel like that may have been intentional, because that was obviously kind of the start of their relationship in a way, and that was kind of where Hild decided to give him this chance to prove himself in a way. and now that's gotten paid off after all this time, and there's and he's standing or kind of kneeling in front of her in a similar manner.
Right.
But yeah, it's great. Oh, it feels so good. Oh my goodness.
Great moment.
Like I mentioned in the Discord chat, after I had read this the first time, like as I read that those last couple pages, I was literally crying with my whole voice. Like I don't do that often, but like I was sitting in my bed reading this book, and I was literally just bawling. Like my eyes and nose were leaking like crazy, and yeah, it was like, but it was such a good cry. Like I don't know, it felt good. And really, really, I feel like that type of reaction from any sort of story, I don't know if I've really gotten it before. And I feel like with that in mind, I sort of need to put this manga at the top of my manga list of all-time manga.
Oh, we're doing it. We're doing it already. Whoa.
Yeah, yes. I believe I mentioned, I believe I may have said this when we discussed the previous book, but then I said on a Kaguya-sama discussion, like, no, maybe Kaguya is better after all. But no, I gotta back down on that again. It's Vinland Saga. It's number one for me.
I'm right there with you. Vinland Saga is the best manga I've ever read.
Yes, it is.
The other ones that we cover are very special to me. Kaguya-sama, Attack on Titan, To Your Eternity. Those are fantastic ones and have made me feel all sorts of things. But Vinland Saga is, I don't know, is something different. It stands up above the rest. Maybe just because it's the most recent one that I've read. But to me, the spiritual journey that Thorfinn goes on is remarkable. And one that honestly I feel like could be discussed in schools, just
absolutely
how amazing it's put together.
Yeah, it should be.
And how deep it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's remarkable. But was that all on Thorfinn?
Well, by the way, his new name is actually Leif. I don't know if you noticed that. He doesn't go by Thorfinn anymore. He goes by Leif.
What are you saying?
So at the next page over, after that final panel with Hild, they show the names of the characters, and right there where Thorfinn's face is, says Leif.
What? Oh my God!
He changed his name.
He's the new Leif Erikson now.
The new Leif Erikson. Oh, it was an origin story for the real Leif Erikson. Oh my gosh. Who knew?
Wow. Oh dear. Yeah. Oh my God. Because I was actually thinking when I reread the book earlier today, I was like, I'm proud of the localization team for not putting any errors in this one. But no, of course there is something.
Snuck it in the end.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that. Oh, that's funny. Very well. With that, I think we should move on to Hild next.
Absolutely.
And of course, the scientific Hild would theorize about the Earth being a sphere instead of flat.
Yeah.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder back in that day how much that theory or thought, or not just that day, but even before that, like how many people actually kind of put that together, especially looking out on the horizon and just putting the pieces together. Did they think, well, maybe it's actually this? But it was just so against popular opinion that it never carried until later on. I don't know. I'm curious, and I wonder if Yukimura had any sort of evidence for that. But regardless, yeah, I mean, leave it to her to come up with that, and really just have a whole theory about it too. Like,
right,
she can go off on it apparently.
Yeah, no, it was really cool, and of course the machine she made later on, to separate the grains from the wheat.
Yeah, I'm not sure what era that's supposed to be, but she's kind of defies era in a lot of ways.
But I feel like, yeah, I mean, if you're just smart enough, I feel like it's not totally unrealistic. It just requires a level of intellect that may not have existed back then. I don't know.
I don't know. Who am I to say?
Yeah.
But regardless, it was yeah, it was cool to see, and it's also just over time you kind of see her melting and how she's blushing about people, people who are praising her. It kind of reminds me of her origin story, with her own town and them praising her, especially her dad, and how she really kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So I feel like she's almost gone back to what her life was previously like with people again.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's wonderful. And actually speaking about her old childhood village in Norway, I think the machine that she made in this book, I mean, sure, it's probably more advanced than the saw machine that she had built in her old home, but it still made me think about that, because that also seemed like somewhat of a maybe too advanced of a thing for the time.
Yeah, maybe.
But I feel like Yukimura makes it work.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. Her relationship with Carly, I mean, it's still carrying on, but it just, I think it builds on even more here. Before, it just seemed like he was more like a nuisance, but now it feels like, she's even thinking about, I should go hunting with Carly out here in these woods. It's like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
You do care. Like, it's just very, very wholesome. And yeah, I like it a lot. And I'm so happy that she herself has changed.
Right. Yeah, she's really, like, at this point she really is part of the family, which I don't know if I would have really considered her that until this book.
Yeah.
I would have wanted her to, but she really distanced herself too much until now to really be a part of the family properly, but she is now, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think Carly was a big part of softening her heart as well. I mean,
yeah.
If Carly wasn't there, who knows if she would have ended up forgiving Thorfinn or not.
Precisely. Yeah. Carly was definitely important for that. And speaking of that whole side of things, she did have this meeting with the god of the forest, which I assume it was in a dream.
Dude, that spooked me out. I was like, what the freak is that?
yeah. I mean, yeah, it must have been in a dream, but yeah, at first, before you kind of realize that, it's like, yeah, what the hell?
I didn't see the hand at first, and then it was just like a bear standing there. It's like, oh crap, no. And then it started talking, and I was like, wait, what is going on? So that's very interesting. But to me, that whole scene and how she basically says the bear wasn't doing anything wrong, or she kind of brought up reasons why she was going to kill the bear. It just shows how much she's progressed, and her forgiving the bear is like her forgiving Thorfinn.
Exactly.
It's kind of like parallel to that, and how she's ready to move on.
For sure. Yeah, time healed the wounds.
Wow. Bug Eyes was right.
yeah. He's a wise man.
I guess Carly was right through Bug Eyes.
True. Yes. They are both wise men. And then, yeah. Again, just have to talk a little bit more about the ending of the book. Just, yeah, seeing her, like, the page of her standing up and saying to Thorfinn, like, Thorfinn, I forgive you. Like,
boom.
It made me tear up both times when I read this book. Like, seeing that, like, that was kind of the start when I started feeling it, like my eyes watering, and then on, like, flipping through the remaining pages of the chapter, I just started crying more and more and more. Obviously, the first time was worse, because obviously that was the first time. But even today, when I reread it, I was crying quite hard, even the second time.
Absolutely. This is something that we all wanted, and I think we could see it coming, but I don't think I expected it to be this profound and this just satisfying. Right? Honestly, I kind of expected just to blow away, just by the end of the story, she's just chilling with everybody, and you could tell, like, that she's kind, but there wouldn't be any really exchange of words about it.
Right.
But no, like, you gave us that chance to really be satisfied with this moment, and I like that. And it's just beautiful.
it's such a huge weight lifted, and it just feels so satisfying. It's such a relief, and
Right.
it feels so good. And also seeing Gudrun and Einar standing there kind of as bystanders,
Mm-hmm.
um, crying as well. That also added to that moment, I think, because obviously Einar and Gudrid are the two, like, I'd say the two characters that are the closest to Thorfinn, and obviously they care deeply for him, and seeing them in tears like that also really good.
Yeah, I didn't even really notice that Einar was crying, but he's totally
Mm-hmm.
just weeping. I love
Yeah.
it.
Oh, they're so cute. And like, yeah, it kind of made me feel like I was Gudrid or Einar, kind of, because
Mm.
like me as a reader, because I'm also just kind of observing this scene between Hild and Thorfinn, kind of similar to those characters, and I was crying just as much as them, if not more.
Yeah.
So yeah, beautiful.
Uh, randomly, why do you think she took off the headband? Like, what was the significance of that? Was the headband, I guess, representative of her anger, her quest for vengeance? Was it just to change the look for the forgiveness? Like,
Right.
I
Yeah.
gotta look my best for this. I don't know. Like, what was the reason for that? This is not something I haven't thought about until just now, but
Yeah, yeah, no, I also thought about it a little bit, like as like I thought it seemed a bit odd. Like I don't mind it, but it's
no, I
just
don't
yeah,
mind it. I just,
it's
what
yeah,
is there a reason for it?
precisely. Yeah, I honestly don't know.
And is this like is this her new look? Like, is she just done with the headband until she goes hunting? Like, I don't know.
Right. Oh. Oh, maybe she wears the headband whenever she's hunting, and she has been considered on a hunt ever since she met Thorfinn, but now the hunt is over.
Oh my gosh, that's a good one.
Mmm.
Yeah.
I'm glad we had this conversation.
Good, good. All right. Well,
uh,
thanks everyone for watching or listening. I guess it's anyway.
but dude, I like that at least as an idea for what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and yeah, seeing her, I mean, and yeah, honestly, I always welcome new looks kind of for characters. And honestly, we've seen it for most of the characters in the story, at least the ones that have stuck around for a long time. We've seen them change hairstyles and stuff like that. So makes sense to see Hild
Yeah.
change up a little bit as well.
And sometimes hairstyle changes signify big changes in one's life as well,
Yeah.
especially within Japanese media.
Hmm.
Um, so maybe this is a similar thing going on there.
Right, right. But yes, I suppose that's it on Hild.
Yeah.
Cool. Then let's move on to Bug Eyes next. This guy got yeah, he kind of lost it and became a gambler in Norway for a while, which I'm not surprised about.
No,
Um,
no. It's totally his
but
move.
absolutely, but he does join them for the journey to Vinland,
But could you
which
blame him? I
I
mean, did you see Freya? I mean, like, good night.
yeah, she was cute, but yeah, that's about it.
She's just holding on to his money for him, you know. It's a
Yeah,
savings account, just one that he can't access right now.
let's stick with that story for Bug Eye's sanity. Yeah, but I am glad he joined them for Vinland, because I was kind of sad when he didn't want to go join them in the previous book,
Right?
but I'm
Yeah.
glad that he's there now.
Same.
We also got to talk about this thing that he saw that looked like a freaking gigantic plesiosaur or plesiosaurus. Like that was pretty whack.
It's strange because to me it's like Yukimoto's referencing the Loch Ness monster, but it's like this is nowhere near the.
Well, the Loch Ness monster is based on a plesiosaurus, right? Or at
Yes,
least the
that's
looks of it is similar to that, right?
right. That's the rumor
And
or the legend.
right. And it actually this got me to start researching plesiosaurs and like seeing how long could they have existed. Obviously nowhere near to like this time period, obviously, because they were wiped out in like this extinction event that happened 66 million years ago. So yeah, no way they could have been an actual plesiosaurus. But then again, Bug Eyes was knocked out after this, and he woke up and he only recall it as a dream, so it's possible it may have all just been a dream, ultimately.
Yeah, maybe he I don't know, maybe he had some bad drink while he was on the ship. I don't know.
Right, precisely. Maybe it had some salty seawater because he was
Yeah,
thirsty, and
salt. There you go.
maybe that
Hallucinating things.
got him crazy. Yeah, that's possible too.
It was kind of random, but I guess it was just silly fun.
Yeah, and I actually kind of appreciate it as well because obviously the Midgard serpent or Jormungandr, this creature from Norse mythology. I didn't mention it in our previous discussion or anything, but I thought about it after our discussion had happened and before this book came out, the possibility of an encounter with Jormungandr, which
really?
obviously well, not an actual one, because obviously that would have been unreal or kind of unnatural, but I thought of the idea, like, what if something, I guess, well, I didn't envision this exactly, obviously, but something akin to this.
Okay, like a whale.
Kind of, well, maybe a whale or like a big snake, I don't know, or whatever, eels, or I don't know, something.
That's a big eel.
Because but the reason that why I kind of had that idea of an encounter in a way, in some sense, with the Midgard serpent on the trip to Vinland is because in the first volume, child Thorfinn is having a dream when he's in his bed in Iceland before everything goes to shit. He's dreaming about, you know, the tales that Leif told him about Vinland and the sailing there, and he's dreaming about sailing to Vinland, but and everything is going well until the Midgard serpent appears out at sea, and it kind of squeezes him to death, kind of in his nightmare.
Oh.
But then he wakes up and it's Ylva who's squeezing him because she wants to be warm, and like she wants his body warmth. So I don't know if the appearance of a kind of a Midgard serpent here in this book, if that was supposed to be a reference to that old dream that child Thorfinn had in the first volume, maybe.
I think it's fun to bring up what their, you know, mythology, their beliefs were, and so I guess this is one way to play along with it in a way. So
yeah,
it was fun.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad that Bug Eyes came along. Not only is he great with his eyesight, but he's also surprisingly good with languages.
Yes.
And really is the head interpreter in a way.
Yeah. The involuntary ambassador.
Right. Exactly. But it's really working out. I mean, I think he has a knack for understanding what other people are trying to say.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it really is a talent that he possesses, and it's great. Yeah, it's so exciting. He really is communicating really well with the Poon's apprentice, the girl whose name I don't recall off the top of my head.
Niskawaji'j.
Niska. Actually, yeah.
Niska.
Gudrid called her Niska that one time, so I think.
Yeah, Niska.
I think that's a good nickname, at least for us who can't pronounce her name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to see kind of how their cooperation, like really the two, well, the Nords and the natives cooperation, to see how much it's going to rely on Bug Eyes and Niska's capability to communicate with each other. Because I feel like that there might be some importance there.
Yeah.
But is that it on Bug Eyes?
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, then moving on to Einar. So we do learn what this goddess was that he was bringing with him, because that was only hinted at vaguely in the previous book. And oh my gosh, that was so good. And I thought, like, placing that stone statue there, like, now represents Arnheid, like right there in Vinland, it really fulfills that promise that Einar and Thorfinn made in front of Arnheid's grave in Denmark.
Exactly.
Like, it really brings that whole thing full circle, and it's so heartwarming, but also like you're sad because she's not there, but also it's like,
it's heavy.
It is.
It's very, and that's another moment in this book that it feels like, okay, we're at the end here. Like, we've reached our goal, basically.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's just another satisfying moment for me. and then calling the village. I guess it just ended up being called Arnheid Village.
Precisely.
And I think that's a great tribute to her beautiful life, her sad, tragic, but beautiful life. And yeah, and I think for Einar himself, I think it is a chance for him to move on, maybe.
Right.
I mean, not saying that he was cut up on her or whatever, but just like, have closure kind of a thing.
Definitely.
In that way. Same for Thorfinn as well. They both took that very seriously.
For sure. So yeah, it's awesome, and not just to have the village named after her, but also to see how appreciated and loved that statue becomes for all of the villagers.
That was big too. Mm-hmm.
That was also so heartwarming to see.
Mm-hmm. I think that meant a lot to Einar.
Yeah, I'm so happy for him. And yeah, in the last chapter of this book, Einar's wheat turned into delicious bread. So we reached that goal too.
No longer the bear professor, he's the wheat professor. Like, officially, he's got it.
I had almost forgotten about that.
So the last thing I have on Einar for this section is the rats on the boat. Just because it's random, or I just don't know what was the point of it. I guess it's just a cool tidbit about life back then. Yeah, rats were actually lucky to the Norse people, and they comment on ships. Or is that a bad sign of like rats coming to this new world and potentially bringing new diseases? Like, I feel like that's a thing, isn't it?
Oh, dude. Oh, it might be. Yeah, that is an interesting speculation that I don't like.
I don't know. How much did the Norse occupation of Vinland or North America affect the local tribes? I guess we don't really know.
Right, yeah, it's hard to know.
So I don't know. Like, it just seems such a random thing to bring up when it doesn't really matter. I don't know. I mean,
or maybe it does matter.
Or maybe it does.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like you were saying, like maybe it's something along those lines.
That's the only reason I could think that it would be brought up. Like if there was a reason, like that's the only one I can think of.
Right. Yeah. No. That is interesting. I honestly didn't think much of it, like at all.
And maybe that's what you're supposed to do. You're just like, huh, neat, and then move on.
Yeah, that's me. That is an interesting thought, though. Very well. Next up, let's talk about Gudrid. So we got to meet her brother Odd, and I thought it was really funny. The moment I saw him, I was like, "That's her brother!" Like, cause the cheeks and the eyebrows gave it away for me.
Yeah.
Because I think Gudrid has, well, obviously she has kind of rosy cheeks, and her eyebrows are pretty unique as well, I think. And he had those exact traits, so I immediately knew it was her brother.
Good call.
About the name Odd, I don't know anyone named Odd, but I used to know a dog called Odd.
Oh, really?
Which I don't know. I mean, I suppose it was an old name or a name back then. But yeah, it's a funny name in English at least.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely an odd name. Aha. I was actually expecting it to be pronounced like Ode or something like that, but it's really pronounced Odd.
No, or I would say Odd.
Odd. Okay.
Gotcha. It's like when I speak English, names and stuff become Englified because I'm kind of in an English mindset, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Totally. So we should call Arnheid then, all right, everyone? Like from now on.
Well, that's actually something that
Einar.
But actually, it is an interesting thought or thing that I've explained that in the.
We are not changing the pronunciation of Arnheid. I've worked so hard to pronounce it correctly. You do not understand.
But something that I may have or I think I've realized since last we recorded.
Uh-huh.
Because I pointed out that in the Norse languages today, the EI makes the A sound. So yeah, Leif, Einar, Arnheid.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense to pronounce them that way. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not 100% sure on what I'm about to say, but I feel like it may be the case that in Old Norse it made the I sound.
Oh, my life has been a lie. Okay, all right.
Although again, don't take this as definite fact because I don't know it for absolute sure. But I feel like I heard that somewhere at some point, but I can't remember the source. So I guess Arnheid wouldn't be wrong if that's the case. Or in fact, it might be more correct. But I feel like at least, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to stick with modern pronunciations, especially since, for example, Einar and Leif are still common names.
True.
Which are pronounced Einar and Leif. So it would be kind of strange for me to pronounce them Einar and Leif.
Yeah.
For example. So I'm going to stick with Arnheid as well for that reason.
Well, that's still different than how we pronounce it in North America, or at least I feel like people pronounce it. They use it Happy Leaf Eric. They say leaf.
Leaf. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, don't know why, but
very well.
Anyway,
back to Gudrid.
That's very interesting.
She's pregnant now.
Oh my gosh, honey!
Yay!
Congratulations.
Yes, big congrats. That's so nice. So happy for her and Thorfinn both. And this certainly answers the question that we were talking about last time. Turns out Gudrid and Thorfinn do indeed get it on.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring it up.
Of course I was. We know that they do.
Well,
they're humping.
Definitely. Oh gosh, it definitely. Yeah, I mean, and Carly has no idea. I was like, how does the baby happen? How is it gonna get here?
Where does it come from?
Where does it come from? I need to know these things. But yeah, I still, and maybe this is the last satisfying thing that we can get.
Oh no!
No, wait. What do you think I'm gonna say? I want to kiss.
Oh,
that's what I want to see.
Oh. I thought you meant that this news, or like this chapter that ended this volume was the last satisfying moment in the story. Anyway, sorry. Now I see what you mean.
No.
Anyways, sorry. Continue.
No, I feel like that a kiss between those two, because that's something we didn't get that I feel like would have been really awesome. But this is just as good. Like, well, maybe just as is not the right word, but I'm really happy with this development. And I think I remember you saying, I don't know if you said it on recording or off recording, but you did mention that the real life Gudrid definitely had a child, not just. Well,
did I mention that?
I don't remember if you told. I think you told that to me, something like that.
I may have done that. Sorry if that's. I didn't mean to spoil.
Oh no, it's fine. Like, I wasn't sure. I don't know. I didn't know how Yukimura was gonna go along with that. Like,
True.
Because we had Carly, and I don't know if Carly is actually a real person or not.
Yeah, no, I don't think Carly is historical.
So yeah, I didn't know like how far, how close to reality he was going to go. But anyway, yeah. So it's exciting to see, and it does get me slightly worried about childbirth and everything like that. Exactly, like how that's going to go down. Is this going to be a safe environment for that? I mean, right now, yes, but the story is not over.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of worry there. But anyway,
indeed, yeah, true. And yeah, and back in the day, stuff like that was more risky than it is these days. Also,
true. That's true as well. Yeah.
But either way, right now, it's a joyous time.
Absolutely. It was kind of funny that she announces her pregnancy, like to top it all off, and then Hild's like, "Okay, my turn. I'm gonna one up you.
Hold my beer."
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Okay, well, Gudrid can't get the last word here, or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, way to steal her thunder.
Yeah, for real. It's gosh, Hild. Jeez.
Yeah. Uh.
Um, I mean, just a lot of great typical Gudrid moments. She's just
Right.
so full of life. I like how when she's talking to her sister, the sister asks, how is everything? Like, you don't regret the choices you make, and she's, yeah, I'm enjoying my new life and traveling the world, and she's really just living her dream in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So really happy for her there. And that panel where she looks back at her sister is just so great. Another classic Gudrid panel.
Absolutely, I love it.
You wouldn't believe how vast the world is. It's just so great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess another like typical Gudrid moment, I think, was when she was about to start defending Cordelia in front of Ivar and the others.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously Cordelia asked her not to in that moment. But I think
Mm-hmm.
I just love that side of Gudrid. Like she's always ready to stand up for what's right.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose that's it on her.
Yeah.
Then let's move on to Ivar then. Actually, like some other characters that we've seen in this story, such as like Ketil and Floki, I think are other examples.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ivar is rather a coward, kind of like them, in a way. Like,
Yeah.
like for example, we had the first meeting with the natives in this book. He gets so stressed out that he drew his sword, like pretty much right away. Like immediately, he saw the natives and he's like, "Where's my sword?" kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And he also said that he wanted to stay with whichever group was bigger back when they were splitting up in Markland. And I don't know if that also shows his kind of cowardice.
It could.
Or exactly, or if that maybe could be interpreted in a different way. Did you have any other ideas as to why he wanted to stay with the larger group?
Not particularly, other than maybe the more people there, the more prosperous you can potentially be. Maybe.
Fair.
But
Yeah.
I do think it's very, very likely that he's just thinking about, power in numbers. The more people there, the less likely that will get completely wiped out by the natives.
Right.
And I agree that it does seem like he's trying to hide behind his sword. That he's a coward in that way. Um, I'm sure there's a bit of, I want to look cool, or there is that desire in me to be a warrior. Typical young guy kind of stuff, especially in this manga.
Right.
But deep down, I do think it is a flight or fight response. Quickly grab his sword. I'm not gonna die here, kind of cowardness.
Yeah.
That we've seen before.
And also, he clearly has no idea what Thorfinn has been through in his life, or like what Thorfinn is capable of, like, or anything like that. And like part of me kind of wants Ivar to learn at least about some of that, or at least or to see some of that, or like in some sense, or so that, or I think that may change his view of Thorfinn, like maybe change it for the better, if he would learn something about Thorfinn's past. But then again, there may be better ways for Ivar to start respecting Thorfinn, or to appreciate him more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't help but kind of want him to learn or to find out about some of these things so that he can stop having those thoughts about Thorfinn the way he does.
Yeah, I hope he's not going to be the cause of trouble. But it does seem, out of all the people, he might be the one to, well, him and his band. Although at sometimes I feel like his friends a little more reasonable, and then other times I'm like, I don't know, they seem just as lost as he is.
Right. Actually, let's talk about them, specifically, we can do that under the Ivar discussion. Specifically, his friend Styrk, the guy with the helmet. He is so cunning. And like I didn't like at all the way he was kind of really manipulative toward Cordelia.
Yeah.
So like that was really shitty, kind of on a similar level as Ivar, but at the same time, as you said, there were other instances where Styrk seemed to kind of want to encourage some better actions, or like doing better, kind of.
Well, yeah, and he was saying like, I don't think Thorfinn's that bad of a guy, or things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just going along with his best bud,
Right.
and he'll do what he can. I mean, he is very persuasive.
Yeah.
In that moment.
For sure.
But going back to Ivar, I think that it's just kind of a plot device that could end up being the trigger for some sort of chaos between the natives and the Nords. So hoping that's not the case, and maybe it's a little too obvious for it to be, but
right.
I think it's going to be a two-way street. It won't just be Ivar. There may be someone on the other side as well.
Right, exactly. I could imagine that. Oh boy. By the way, that third guy in their little crew, like I don't know what his deal is. Like, can he not speak, or can he not speak properly? I don't know.
Did I forget what's the helmet's guy name again?
Styrk.
Did he do sign language to him at one point?
Oh, if he did, I may have missed it. But actually, that would make sense
because in a way.
Right. Well, yeah, and I remember that the third guy, that guy kind of made some hand gestures also to in response to something at some point. So actually, maybe he's deaf or something.
I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. Very well. Is that it on Ivar and those guys?
Yeah.
Then let's talk a bit about Carly. According to Hild, this 4-year-old is smarter than most grown men. I thought that was pretty funny, and it also, but I mean, obviously, it's maybe it's not entirely true, but he is very smart, and he actually he even kid. He gave Hild this idea, or kind of he helped add on to Hild's round Earth theory with the whole idea that the center is the gravity. Well, they didn't use those words, but basically down is the middle of the sphere.
Oh, I thought he was just. I didn't think he was adding on to it per se. Like, I thought she had already come up with that specific idea, but she just had never met anyone who thought the same way. Could be that.
I interpreted it as she hadn't thought of that specific part of the theory, but that Carly kind of helped her think of it that way through his question to her.
Actually, yeah, no, it could be that way.
Either way, he's a smart kid.
Yeah, for sure.
But also, he is a kid, which was very evident through the scene where he was fighting with the other kids, over the swing. Which when I saw that scene the first time, I was like, wow, this is such an accurate portrayal of how real kids actually would argue. It's so good. And then came the following scene with the adults fighting in the exact same way, basically.
I knew that was going to happen. I was like, this is going to be a mirror to how the adults fight.
Yeah.
And sure enough.
That really tickled me. But yeah, it's so good. But yeah, no, Carly is a quick learner, and he seems to kind of hold on to, or kind of take in some of the maybe most important kind of wisdoms from the people around him, that in turn sometimes he can help other people with.
Absolutely.
That's really nice.
Yeah, I mean, his perspective on things, I think, really opens up the minds of the adults, and sometimes it takes a child's view of the world to soften the hearts or change the view of some of the adults.
Absolutely. But is that all on Carly?
Yeah.
Then let's move on to a couple of the Native American characters. And I will apologize in advance for my pronunciation of their names, since I don't know much about how they should be pronounced, but I will do my best, at least based off of the way they're written. So let's start with Miskwekepu'j, the guy who's known as the Pu'win. That's also a word that I don't know exactly how to pronounce, but yeah, that shaman that we were mentioning earlier a little bit. He is definitely wary of the Nords, both based on him having seen kind of what they've done in the past, or other things he'd seen in the past. Actually, it may have been other Native Americans that had burned down the forest that he saw. But either way, it's based on things he's experienced, but also based on kind of more spiritual signs. he's wary of the Nords. But I think also for most of this book, even though he does feel wary about them, he doesn't want to force that decision kind of on his people. Like he wants to make he wants to let them make whatever decision they want to come to. So I thought that was respectable. But then obviously he did have that vision of the future near closer to the end of this book, and I don't think we saw him more after that, I believe.
Yeah, I think that was the last time.
Yeah, so now he may be more set on maybe convincing his people to actually drive the Nords away.
Yeah, and that's why the whole Canute thing, bringing that up, kind of worries me. It just, yeah, I wonder if he is going to become really antagonistic against them, and Yukimura gives him a seemingly pretty good reason. I mean, we as a reader know that the events that were depicted in his dream are more or less accurate.
Yep.
And being that the land is so holy for a lot of Native American tribes, I could see that being a big issue. And yeah, it was kind of sobering to see all that and truly just contemplate it all. I understand like the horrendousness of the vision. I just don't know what's the end game right now for why he had that vision, unless it is to become Canute.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, this is definitely the most like worrisome thing that right now.
Yeah.
So yeah. But really, aside from this, everything is rainbows and butterflies and unicorns right now.
Right. Even Ivar is really not that big of a deal. Like, for all we know, he could have been easily swayed to never pull out a sword ever again.
Yeah, exactly.
For all we know.
Yeah.
But Miskwekepu'j, Misk, I think is just a tough cookie, unfortunately.
He may be. I still feel like there is reason to like he is reasonable to like, at least we have seen him be reasonable. So I wonder how much of that is he gonna keep moving forward.
I think that goes back to what Thorfinn was saying about those who hate war are the scariest when they decide to kill or whatever. Yeah, I do think he has reasons to definitely fear or hate the Nords at this point. So I think it's justifiable. Well, maybe not justifiable, but it makes sense.
Right.
So, yeah, I could see it going in that way.
For sure. Whew. Very well. Is that all on him?
Yeah.
Then let's move on to Niskawaji'j, or Niska, as Gudrid called her, or well, one time really. But I feel like it's good. It's a good way to refer to her.
Niska's good.
She is the apprentice of the Puawin, who was the previous character that we talked about, and she has the gift of foresight, apparently. So she's had this nightmare twice since the Nords arrived, which could be seen as a warning to them. And because of that, she wants to obviously find out more about the Nords, and she has started to kind of involve herself there and try to get to know them as best she can, which really, as we were talking about earlier, is really through Bug Eyes mostly that she has been interacting and getting close to, and started to learn their language and teaching him a bit of their language. And like I feel like their collaboration is something really beautiful right now, where they are teaching each other their languages and probably beginning to understand one another in a way that probably most others from the respective clans or whatever you want to say don't really. So yeah, I feel like this is a place like the Niska and Bug Eyes like is in a situation where there's a lot of hope, especially considering the stuff that we were discussing previously on the other character.
I wonder if she were to have that dream again, would it play out the same way, and would it be interpreted differently now? Because maybe part of that dream was just who I don't know, maybe it was just the fear of the unknown.
Definitely could be. Yeah, yeah.
As far as I understand, there hasn't been a horrific event like that in recorded history, at least in North American context, as far as I understand. So it definitely can't be for reals, right?
Yeah, no, I doubt that.
But or oh gosh, terrible. What if later on in the story the Nords are forced to leave and the new people end up burning down their entire settlement, and she's basically standing in the middle of that.
Oh.
Um,
Oh no.
after it's all said and done,
That would be awful.
and maybe she's upset about how they couldn't see eye to eye or something like that.
Right. Oof, that would be such a downer ending.
Yeah, I mean,
but hey, yeah.
That's the thing. How else is this story going to end?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Unless he changes the course of modern history.
Mm-hmm. Which I've thought of as a decent possibility based on the creative liberties he's taken in the past. Like it's not out of the realm of possibilities that he would, go out of his way to make an ending that's not historically accurate.
Yeah.
Which I would be perfectly fine with that, but
yeah, no, I would be too.
It's yeah. Either way, I do believe. Well, obviously, Niska has started to really. I mean, I don't know if she can really hold up a conversation in Norse yet, but I don't think she can. But she knows, she can ask simple questions and take in information, kind of. And I believe before everything is over, however it's going to end, whether good or bad, she will learn Norse well enough to actually speak it.
Oh, cool.
That's something I expect.
That'd be awesome.
And actually on that, although I'm not as confident in this one, but maybe Bug-eyes will learn their language as well.
Ah. Well, since we're saying predictions about these guys, I'll do you one step further.
Oh.
Well, I'm not gonna go out and say it's gonna happen. I'm just curious.
Uh-huh.
Is there anything between these two? Like, is this like a inter-ethnic kind of relationship happening here?
Right. I expected you would bring that up, maybe.
That's the dream, right? Like, I think even Thorfinn kind of contemplated that at one point, like having people marry each other from both groups.
Precisely.
And that's what the Norse did when they would go to different places. They'd end up marrying the people there and just kind of assimilating into the culture.
Yeah.
So in the end, like that's the dream, right? But can that actually happen? I don't know. And is this the couple to do it? And they're the only ones who really have any sort of anything going on. Like, she's the only female, so it's like.
I mean, yeah. So far, yeah, this is our best shot for that. And yeah. I mean, I would definitely be open to the possibility of it.
I'm not sure what the age gap is here either. But...
Yeah, we don't know. She was someone called her a kid, but I don't know.
Yeah.
If she actually is or whatever the situation is there. Either way, yeah, we'll have to see, I suppose. Well, anything else on Niska?
I think that's it.
Cool. Then moving on to Plmk. Is the guy who, he seems to be a bit on the brutal side, at least at first, but really as soon as he meets with the Nords, I feel like he is incredibly willing to collaborate and communicate as best he can. So I feel like he's a good fella.
Yeah, I think he's a typical dude, to be honest.
True.
Just I'm tough. Like, I can take him. I mean, I didn't say we needed to. I was just saying I could.
Yeah, exactly. If I wanted to.
If I wanted to. Gosh.
Yeah. No, he's nice. I don't have much on him really, but
nah.
But he's probably, I'd say, the third most prominent out of the Native American characters. But do you have anything else on him? Then let's talk about Leif Erikson a little bit next. He has gotten really old.
Oh boy.
It is a bit sad to see, but it's also natural.
Hitting like a ton of bricks.
Yes, I have seen these fast declines in elderly people IRL, so I can definitely buy this quick kind of downward thing. But yeah, it is sad. And when when Thorfinn told Vargr to say hello to Leif or whatever next time he was in Greenland, the thought crossed my mind, like, what if there's no longer a Leif to say hello to?
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to see, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll see. But it makes sense for his character or for his age, but it's just sad to see.
Right.
Hope he's able to enjoy his retirement as much as he would like to be out at sea or exploring new places.
Indeed. Next up, a little bit about Vargr, this former Jomsviking who ended up as a trusted ally to Thorfinn.
Yeah.
And yes, Thorfinn really saved this man from a life of violence, which is really like one of the best things one can do, really, at least especially according to the themes of this story, kind of. So that's really nice, and I thought he's such a, like, at least these days, when we see this character, he's really like such a teddy bear kind of.
Yeah.
He's so sweet.
Yeah, no, I agree. And he's pretty key to the whole operation as well, sailing back and forth between Greenland and there. So
for sure.
Yeah, great to have him there.
Yeah.
From his backstory, we get the whole kind of mythology, or a little bit of the mythology of Ragnarok.
Precisely.
There was that scene of the Norns, the provinces, and they were like doing a dance. Future's whack, y'all! Like
whack to the max. Yeah. But anyway, yes. Moving on a bit to Cordelia. She did see Ivar draw his sword, and that has kind of put her in a little bit of a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose, actually, this is probably like the number 2 most worrying thing, I guess, right now, after the future that the Pu'in saw. I'd say this is, in my opinion, the second most worrisome thing in the story at the moment, is kind of her dilemma about whether to keep it to herself or bring it up, or whatever she's going to do. And because obviously she's kind of suffering right now, I think.
Right,
like,
yeah.
She's definitely in a bad place.
I agree. And it doesn't help that what's his name is being very persuasive towards her. So I worry because, again, bringing up the Canute thing, she's definitely someone that hates violence, or someone doesn't want to do that. And I worry that they will somehow manipulate her to protect the village.
No.
When she really shouldn't. That would be so tragic and sad. And I would think Thorfinn would be able to stop it. But I could see that being a potential thing, and I don't want it to happen.
Right.
That could be something.
Oh, I had not even thought about that, but that's a frightening possibility. But anything else on Cordelia?
That's it.
Right. Then the last character I have any notes for at all is Ugge. This the mystery character standing with the group on the cover of the book. He's really just a crazy old man who's afraid of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing else to say about him. What about you?
No, that's it. I guess every village needs a crazy old man.
Yes.
It's magic. I knew it. All your spells
and curses. Nah, yeah. That's his only reason for being there. Very well. Then let us move on to predictions. And well, we've discussed this the possibility of things going sideways, kind of, between the Nords and the natives. And the first thing I wanted to mention, at least in this segment here, related to that, is that the narration said something along the lines of the relationship between the Nords and the natives started off well. I that's not exactly, I don't think, but it was something along those lines. It makes me feel like there's a but coming after that.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it'll turn bad in due time or something. So yeah, in addition to what we've already said, that's an extra reason as to why I think there may be bad times ahead. But really, that the future vision that Miskwekepu'j saw, I think may be the main factor in this thing, or Ivar. I suppose there are bad things on either side, to be honest.
I think like they're both going to be the catalysts, but yeah, I think they're both concerning, and they'll probably rile up the people on their side for whatever reason.
Precisely.
Yeah, so that's my thinking, unfortunately, because I really don't think they're going to stay here unless he decides to change the story. Well, not even. Let's forget about like actual history where the Nords were gone. Like, well, when you have a story like this and you still have a few volumes left to go, apparently, you got to have some sort of conflict.
Yes.
And to me, I think it's clear that, or I think he's hinting at a conflict in that way between these two individuals. That being said, we did just get through a volume where we had so many highs and everyone was happy.
Yeah.
It does kind of feel like, okay, when's the bad gonna happen?
Exactly.
But speaking of happiness, like, can this be topped? I think maybe the birth of Thorfinn and Gudrid's child. But it's hard to beat this spiritual peak. Like this may be the highest point in the entire manga.
Really, yeah, because it was such a major payoff. Like and I agree. I don't think anything can top it in terms of a satisfying payoff. Because really, what is there left to pay off? Especially, or at least out of the things that have been around for that long. I don't think there is anything that would match it. But yeah. Yeah, but I do believe if it comes to childbirth and stuff, that's gonna be beautiful too.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll see that next book. All right. Well, it really depends on how much time passes. Time did pass decently in this one, so it's possible we may have it in the next one, but not necessarily.
You know what's interesting about the time passing thing? I feel like Carly is starting to speak without in not baby words. Like at the very end, I mean, yeah, he's simple, but he's not like Hild. He's saying Hild instead of Hild.
Oh yeah, right.
So yeah, I guess you can tell that Carly is getting older.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of this book, he says, "Daddy and Hild made up. Good for Daddy." Like, yeah, perfectly good sentences and words.
Great pronunciation, kid.
Yeah, wonderful. Actually, something I don't know if I've thought of much is Carly's design. Like, it kind of looks like I mean, obviously he's not, but it looks like he could be an actual biological child of Gudrid because he has similar eyebrows, kind of, and he also has those rosy cheeks like she does. So it's fitting that she became his new mother.
Just that red hair, man. Where'd that come from? Huh?
Exactly, from Einar. Wait a minute.
Oh no. That'd be quite the twist.
That would be. Actually, it's funny on the front cover. Carly is standing right in front of Einar, and they have kind of similar face expressions. So it kind of looks like a mini Einar. But anyway, back to predictions. Something I actually, I'm probably leaning toward not expecting anything more on this, but I was thinking about it, so I want to mention it because I think I was a little bit intrigued. Is how they were spreading ashes onto the fields as kind of an experiment that Einar wanted to do. He wanted to see if it would be different in any way. And sure, we've already had the wheat grow up now, so maybe it's past finding out. But I don't know. I'm still kind of interested in seeing if the ash on that part of the soil actually did make a difference or not.
I guess this is more so just a wonder, a question. What is next for both Einar and Hild?
Oh yeah,
because Thorfinn, or well, I guess you can even say what's next with Thorfinn, but I think it's pretty clear that he's just continuing to work on the village and kind of be the leader of it.
Plus, he has a child coming.
Exactly. So that there's still things forward for him. But I actually was gonna say Bug-Eyed Thorfinn. I think he has like a plot line.
Definitely.
With Niska.
Yeah.
That could that'll be interesting to see. But where is Einar and Hild, where their story. I mean, not to say that. I mean, Hild's ended perfectly. Like we have that beautiful moment. But I don't know. I would like for her to find even more satisfaction in life, and not, where does her life go now that it's not consumed with vengeance?
Precisely.
And maybe there's not a huge difference, but I guess what I'm trying to say is there any kind of love that's going to happen? Like, are we done with the loving? Is that just not, is that not going to happen? And I'm not saying like, oh, Einar is perfectly single. I mean, if that does happen, that's fine. I guess I'm saying, like, is that something she wants? That could be an interesting plot point for her. But is that good enough for the story? Or not, maybe good enough is that word. Is that where the story is heading? Maybe that doesn't feel rightly placed. And then it's really the same thing with Einar. Like, he's kind of he's fulfilled the promise that he made to someone he cares about deeply. And obviously he still has duties as the wheat professor to, keep it up. But I don't know. It would be nice to see him start his own family.
Honestly, yeah.
No, I don't know. Just thoughts about those two.
Right. No, but I mean, I like that thought, and I mean, obviously, yeah, it all depends on a lot of things. Though I'm sure if Yukimura wanted to, he could pull that off and make it kind of work with the overarching story pretty nicely. I'm sure. But yeah, because you're right. Both of these characters really had their major payoffs in this book. So sure, you could perhaps view it as like Einar is going to continue, harvesting, and kind of put his focus into that, while Hild may transition into becoming more of a someone who's more connected to the community and kind of involved in the family in a sense.
Definitely a teacher, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. So I definitely could see both of them moving on without, I guess, romance.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, I mean, I absolutely would not say no to some romance.
For sure. I think I was gonna say especially Einar, but I don't know. I think it would be great for Hild too. But Hild's thing is that she's never really shown too much interest in that kind of stuff from her childhood.
Right, precisely. At least not in her childhood, but it's been a long time since then. She may have changed.
True.
We don't really know much about what's going on in her head other than a few little things.
New look, new me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my final prediction is just going back to how I think the story will end. I really think that Thorfinn will stop the conflict, but it will be a compromise in that he will leave Vinland, especially the area, and I guess just go back to Greenland, which does kind of sound like defeat, really.
Exactly. Yeah.
It would be such a bummer to end the story that way.
I know.
There's got to be some sort of satisfying way, right? Some lesson he learns or something. I mean, like, you go back and Halfdan's gonna be like, "Where's my money? Where's my money?" You know, like
exactly. Oh, no.
I don't know, like this. How you doing it? But that's the best way to end a conflict is just to leave, right?
Man,
if you can't talk it out.
Precisely. Yeah, and I mean, I've had basically these exact thoughts as well as to how this whole thing is going to end, because I'm not going to go into detail obviously, but yeah, as well, the Nords obviously didn't stay there.
They can't have.
And so not saying anything more than that. Yeah, that definitely seems like kind of is the whole Vinland journey going to be for nothing by the end, or
oh gosh,
like yeah, how is Yukimura going to end this? What's his plan? I'm so curious.
I don't envy him at all. Like, he's got to this point, he had like these amazing volumes of satisfaction and just everything coming to an end, and then he's like, oh crap, I gotta end this. Like,
I mean, I'm sure he has figured this out since a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
But I'm just so curious as to what his plan could be.
Yeah, for sure.
I suppose that's all for predictions, though.
Yeah, that's it.
Great. Yeah, man, what a lovely volume. Easily one of, or I should say book in general, since they released two volumes in each book. Because this book as a whole really was so good. I don't know if it's like my number one favorite Vinland Saga book, but it's definitely up there in my, like, among my favorites. Maybe my number one favorite, actually, but yeah, it's amazing regardless.
Yeah, I mean, this one relies so much on the previous volumes and just the story entirely, and how the payoffs, well, the payoff is here, really. So it's hard to say like where exactly it would place for me as well, but it's such a satisfying book that will go down forever as one of my favorites for what I read, and yeah, it's incredibly memorable.
Absolutely, definitely got the most, or like the strongest emotional reaction from me than, compared to any of the other previous Vinland Saga books. Goodness, I wouldn't be surprised if I read this for a third time like tomorrow. It would probably get me to cry again. It's just that good. And the next book, when do you reckon we'll get that? About a year from now?
Maybe a year. I think his pace has gone pretty slow, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been I believe sort of one book a year, although that's 2 volumes a year technically. But hey, it'll be worth the wait, I'm sure. We just gotta hang in there.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the story's over. Vinland Saga's done. Satisfying ending, forgiveness, atonement, just a joy.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's no more bad things happen. No more bad things.
I want to see childbirth, though.
Well, I can show you plenty of things, plenty of resources you can see childbirth.
Yeah. No, but yes. Thank you.
You're like, oh, that was weird. Okay. Anyway.
James has a collection.
Oh no! I just open up a textbook anyway. No, like it. Yeah, I do want to see that, and like with Gudrid, she's still precious, but I do want to see another strong scene from her, even though she's had great ones throughout the series, but I want to see another one from her.
For sure, yeah. Like this book kind of I mean, obviously she was good, but it didn't really give her anything new necessarily to do. Other than, I suppose, the announcement that she was pregnant, but that was still
right. That was big news.
Exactly, that was big news, but not necessarily about her character.
Yeah.
But it also makes sense. Like Yukimura has kind of allowed characters to kind of breathe for a couple books sometimes, or kind of to not be super active, such as Einar during the Baltic arc. Kind of like he wasn't that prominent, for example. But like in this book, he had a beautiful moment. So yeah, I'm sure there's still something good from Gudrid to come.
Yeah.
Pretty well. I believe that's all for this week.
Awesome.
If you enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by rating our show on the podcast platforms and subscribing to our channel, Umami Manga, on YouTube. If you like this episode, please share it with anyone you think might enjoy it too. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about volumes 27 and 28. Bye-bye!
See you later! Gudrid means stupid.
How dare. That's so rude.